Hey, homesteaders. Shane here from Floyd Family Homestead. So, I don't have my talking board with me today, so I'm kind of just winging it, so bear with me, please. Uh, you guys see me post a lot. Anytime I talk to anybody, I'm always going through and telling them to feed the soil, not the plant. And sometimes that raises questions. All right. What do I mean by that? Well, most people will go through, they'll plant their garden. Yes, we all know about compost. We all know about, the microbiome in the soil and stuff like that. But they'll go through once or twice a week, buy commercial fertilizer. I'm not saying it's bad, all right, but they go through and they buy commercial fertilizer and they go through and they water the plants, all right. Well, there is a much better way, in my opinion, utilizing regenerative practices to go through and do that. Um, what this is it's a foliar feed. All right. Well, what is a foliar feed? Well, a foliar feed is nothing more than plant food. All right. Some people call it a foliar tea. That's basically what I'm going to start creating and show you how to create it today. Now, we all know that microbiology and the microbiomes in the soil, um, it's a living, breathing thing. So they go through, they transfer, they transfer nutrients, they transfer minerals to whatever it is that plant particularly needs. It needs nitrogen, needs potassium, needs magnesium, needs calcium, whatever it is. The microbiology in the soil moves all of those minerals around and feeds the plant for what it needs. So a foliar feed or a foliar tea adds those much needed nutrients to the soil. Even though, yes, we have our compost and everything underneath there, all right, it goes through and adds the extra nutrients to the soil. Think of it this way. When we go through and eat vegetables, we are getting all the vitamins and the minerals from those vegetables. So by doing a foliar feed, we're giving it fertilizer, but we're also giving it vitamins and minerals. We're doing a complete circle by going through and doing that. Just like us, when we're eating all of these vitamins and minerals, we stay healthy. The same thing with our plants. You can always tell if a plant is healthy by looking at the leaves. If the leaves are nice, shiny, all right, and they got like a clear coat, so to speak, on them, that's a healthy plant. Generally, not on all cases, but most of the time, that is a very healthy plant. That's the fat inside the leaves that it's coming out to help with the photosynthesis and stuff like that to be able to bring the nutrients down. So, how do you make a foliar tea? Well, the easiest thing to do is one, you got a 5-gallon bucket, fill it full of water. All right. Then you go through and take items from around your homestead, all right, which is what's inside of here. All right, this is all wrapped up in a cheesecloth, and I will include a picture for this. Uh, but you take items from, from your homestead. Go underneath leaves that have been going through and breaking down. When you lift the leaves, you'll see a whole bunch of the white mold and stuff like that. Gather that up. Um, gather some spring some spring plants that are coming up, which we call weeds. Technically, I hate the term weeds because there's nothing in there that's a weed. Everybody thinks like dandelions, they're a weed, they're a weed. Well, we call them a weeds, but dandelion is one of the most nutrient dense things on the planet. So you combine all that up. You can use compost, you can use eggshells, stuff like that, and you combine it all up and you put it in a bag, just like you would for a tea that you would go through and drink. Although I wouldn't recommend drinking this, but you mix it together and you steep it. The biggest difference between a tea that you drink and a foliar tea is there's no heat. You're still going through, it's still bubbling, it's still turning, all right? Which is taking all those vitamins and minerals and putting them into your tea water. You'll then go through and take that tea water, and this is a concentrate now. You'll go through and you'll dilute it. I have a big 25-gallon 25 or 50 gallon, I don't remember the size, but a big 25, 50 gallon trough outside in my garden that I go through and I fill up with water. And then I'll go through and dump this into it, mix it all together, and that's what I go through and use when I'm watering or feeding my plants. All right. The foliar feed will get onto the leaves of the plant, travel down the stem, out into the roots, then the microbiology takes it from there. Now, you don't want to go through and utilize the same recipe every single time. Let me give you an example. My father gave me this example before. All right. So if you were to be given macaroni and cheese, no salt, no flavoring, no nothing, just straight macaroni and cheese, and that's all you're allowed to eat, after a while, well, you're going to want to go through and start changing it up because you get sick and tired of it. Well, in the simplest forms, the plants are the same way. If you're sitting there going through and you're giving them nitrogen and potassium constantly, but you're not giving them any magnesium or magnesium, excuse me, or giving them anything else, well, the nitrogen and the potassium is going to be high, but your magnesium and everything else is going to be low. So you want to go through and mix things up. All right. By going through and doing that, it is a fast way to go through and get those nutrients to your plants. So in this particular recipe that I'm using this week, all right, yes, you want to feed every single week. You don't have to. I highly recommend that you do. It does make a difference. So on this particular recipe, I've got eggshells in there. All right, I've got a little bit of moss that I found out here. I found some, I dug down into some plants, or not plants, under some leaves. All right, I grabbed some of that organic matter. I grabbed some compost, and I grabbed some of the early plants that were coming up, like stinging nettle and stuff like that. And I combined it all into here. And then I'll go through let me back up here. I also added bone broth to this as well. Now, the only thing that is not from my homestead is this. This is Quantum Organic Total. All right. This comes from Green Earth and Ag. All right. This is nothing but a beneficial soil and plant microbiology inoculant. All right. So this has got microbiology in it. You're going through and adding the microbiology, and I don't measure it out, but you add this into the 5-gallon 5-gallon pail. All right. And then you're feeding this into the microbiology. And tomorrow morning, when I go through and do this, you want to let it seep for 24 hours. When I go through and I do this, you'll see tomorrow morning, all right, just how much it bubbled up. So you take your ingredients, your water with your inoculant, and I'll have the link to this on the description below. And then you just get in a standard aquarium pump with hoses. So you're going to stick this in there underneath this, all right? So your hoses, the air is coming through this. Put a little weight on it so to hold it down, and you just let it seep for 24 hours, all right? So let me go ahead and get this in here and get it going. You got to make sure that the air is going to be able to come up. And yes, that water is cold. Ooh. Whew, that's cold water. Where is my towel? There it is. Make sure I got everything down. See, I got one hose up. There you go. Should be able to hear it bubbling. And that's all you do. All right, you just let it bubble for 24 hours. So I'll come back in 24 hours, give you an opportunity to go through and see what it looks like. Again, All you're doing is just taking things from your homestead and adding it. We all know that, especially with this, everybody wanting to go through and be organic. Everything want to go through and uh, raise our own plants, our own vegetables, stuff like that, to release, so you're not so dependent on the government. Not only that, we can control what it is that we go through and eat. This is another way of going through and doing it. This is another additive. You're not taking commercial fertilizers, which could potentially have synthetic stuff in there. We all know our bodies do not like synthetic stuff. Your plants aren't going to like it either. All right, so you go through and make the tea, and then you pour it on the garden. So I'll let this run for 24 hours, and we'll see how it looks in the morning. All right, homesteaders. So it's been 24 hours. As you can see, it's bubbled up. All right, so I'm now going to go through and put this in the bin outside. I got to wait for it to warm up a little bit. We had a cold snap last night, so it's 31 degrees. So I'm going to let this bubble for a couple hours more. Let it get above freezing, and then I'll put it in my backpack sprayer and go through and water my vegetables and my trees. Now, you want to make sure that if you're going to do your trees, make sure you know which way the wind's blowing. So just a little tip. So a highly nutritious, nutrient dense feed for your plants, made right from your homestead. Until next time, God bless.
All right, guys, that's it. I hope you enjoyed. Please be sure to like and subscribe. Until next time, live your best life.